And welcome to another episode of the Market Value Chart Show, right here at 6 Scale Cantina. So there's been some new movement within the secondary market for Star Wars hot toys over the last week. We're going to head on over to 6scalecantina.com, check out what's new within the biggest mover section, and also the market value chart. We're also going to head on over to Sideshow, go over a few of those figures there, including the Mandalorian deluxe version of Boba Fett. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into that figure. How is that really going to perform within the secondary market long term? And should you go ahead and pre-order that figure now? We're going to dive into all of this right now. Alright, and welcome to another episode of the Market Value Chart Show, right here at 6 Scale Cantina. So in this Market Outlook edition of the show, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what's going on within the secondary market for Star Wars hot toys. It does seem to be evolving daily, and certainly there have been a lot of things that are trending up or down within the secondary market, even within the last week. So for the first segment of the program, we're going to go ahead and go to 6scalecantina.com. And let's go ahead and take a look at the biggest mover section and see what has changed. So, Anakin Darkside still trending high. And this figure is $686. The average secondary market price within the market value chart. And trending up. Now, one thing I do want to mention about these figures that are so high within the secondary market. If the average is $686, that means that many times this is selling within the $700 tier range. However, it's also still selling within the $600 tier range. So, you could take a look at a very recent auction here. So here's a Darkside Anakin, $620. Back on February 24th. So sometimes when there are listings where it's only for, 3 days, or it's very early in the morning, or very late at night, or even someone that's coming in and just kind of listing it to sell it, not necessarily a auction, you can go ahead and find deals on these. So my advice is to exercise some patience, as much as possible anyway, and try and see if you can hit some of these at a less expensive price than that $700 tier range. Now, even in the buy-sell groups for this Darkside Anakin, you're paying a lot of money right now what this is going for. Very, very highly sought after. So, something we're certainly going to have to continue to keep an eye on, for sure. And moving down, you can see we have a new entry, K2SO. K2SO was steady within the mid to upper $500 tier range for a while, but enough data came in where this has now entered the $600 tier range. So here is a example of a recent auction. Back on February 24th, $675 with 17 bids. So I mentioned this in some prior episodes. I don't believe that Hot Toys released many batches of any of these Rogue One figures, and certainly K2SO was such a fun character from Rogue One, and it is a very popular movie, so definitely not a huge surprise for me anyway, but wow, that price is crazy. So next figure, Emperor Deluxe, still steady, and it's in the $600 tier range. Will it go past the $700 tier range like Anakin looks like it may? Again, here's an auction. You can see on the bottom of your screen, Emperor for over $700. There was one also the same time period, $750. However, there's another one that's just $600. So exercise some patience. it just depends on when it's listed. It's not always going to go for this. I mean, that's why the average is where it's at. But it is trending up. And, it's very interesting with this figure because it sat in stock, I think, for a little bit and was available at a very reasonable secondary market price for a while. I actually got this at retail price not even a year ago, sometime middle of last year from a comic shop at retail. And I was fortunate enough to find it. That's another thing. Go ahead and research some comic shops that aren't exactly, looking up what the secondary market prices are. I will admit that now a lot of them are, and their prices reflect as such, but you can still, if you're diligent enough to research, you can still sometimes find some of these. But yeah, this figure has just, really hit the stratosphere. So, all right, let's continue to move down the list on the market value chart. So, Count Dooku continues to be steady. It's not hitting that $400 tier range, but quite honestly, let's see if I could pull up some examples here. So, here's a listing by a pretty well-known seller on eBay, Hawk Wars Toys, $510. And you could see that here's an auction for Count Dooku at $455. Still has 6 hours and 23 minutes left. And, from not too far back from this, it was already trending up. You see, pulling up on the screen, you see in the middle, $405. So, not too long ago, maybe from a couple weeks ago. So, there is, just quite a lot of supporting data that this is not just a blip, that this figure, I believe, will enter the $400 tier range within the coming weeks, if not next. So, very interesting. New entry, Yoda from Empire Strikes Back. So, I'm not surprised with this. I know that you can't display him with many characters right now, but honestly, it's Yoda. So, kind of like Darth Vader, he's so big, the presence of Yoda by himself, and you can display him by himself. Or you could just display him with all the original trilogy characters. So there's so many ways that you could display this Yoda. Even if you don't have the DX07. But, this figure is, it's trending high. I mean, here's a recent auction. Back on February 24th, $386.99. So, again, I spoke about this in a prior episode about original trilogy figures, and there's definitely an appreciation by, even fans that really didn't grow up with the original trilogy. I mean, this is an iconic character with an iconic look, this puppet look from the OT. So, very interesting, and certainly something we're going to have to keep an eye on for sure within the secondary market. Tarkin and Vader 2-pack, that just continues to go high. Let's see if I can pull up something very recent for Tarkin and Vader. Right here on the screen. $866.82. So we're going to get into this a little bit later in the program once we get to the Sideshow website. But, this is basically doubling what it is at retail. And this is an iconic 2-pack. And right now, that Boba Fett Deluxe is an iconic 2-pack. Like, this is an iconic 2-pack for what that did for Star Wars. So, if you're wondering what's going to happen with that figure, you can kind of look at trends right now. It's going to really tell the story, I think. So, let's keep going down here. So, of course, Chirrut was moving up. Darth Maul DX18. Moving up. Luke Skywalker, A New Hope. So, I was kind of wondering in the back of my mind, is this a little bit of a blip? So, I don't think so. This has moved into the $400 tier range and actually moved up a couple of bucks this week. So, let's go ahead and take a look at some stuff that's going on here with Luke. So, $405 with 7 bids back on February 25th. Luke Skywalker, $405. Again, same price, different auction. 14 bids. You can even take a look at this Luke Skywalker. And the interesting thing about this is from a non-smoke-free home. Again, non-smoke-free home. And the hairpiece had damage. And it still went for $330. You were able to get this for around $330 not too long ago. But Luke is hot. And again, this figure is not exactly, it doesn't have the greatest head sculpt in the history of humankind. But it is okay. And in certain angles, I think it is decent. And this is a very iconic look for a character that is very iconic within Star Wars and is certainly reinvigorated in so many ways thanks to what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni did in the finale of The Mandalorian Season 2. So definitely something we're going to have to keep an eye on with this figure for sure within the secondary market for Star Wars hot toys in the weeks and months to come. Continuing to go down this list, yeah, of course, Obi-Wan, Rising, Anakin, Revenge of the Sith. Will this Anakin, the regular Revenge of the Sith version, will this hit the $600 tier range in the coming weeks or months? And right now I believe it's at $592 is the average within the market value chart. So, I don't know. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Krennic continues to go up. Vintage color Boba Fett, Remnant Trooper, Short Trooper. So these continue to rise. So let's go ahead and go to the second segment of the program, and let's go ahead and go to the market value chart. And remember, once you get to the chart, always hit that current value column arrow a couple of times so you can get the highest ranked figures to the lowest ranked figures, so it's easy to navigate. So going ahead and briefly going through the chart, Han and Chewie from A New Hope still steady at $900, and I'll bring this up again from the first figure I spoke to, the Darkside Anakin. When it's averaging $900, that means that it's selling sometimes in the high $900 tier range, even into the thousands. But that also means it's selling within the 800s. So again, exercise patience when you look at some of these. But this is a very, very highly, another 2-pack that is basically doubled from its retail price. And going ahead and taking a look at, let's see if I can get to one of these here. Sure. So $860 back on February 22nd with 28 bids. So, $40 lower than the average, but a lot of times this is selling for $1,100. So, this is what these are going for, and it's a 2-pack. So, very interesting indeed. Let's continue to go down the list. We already talked about Tarkin and Vader, Anakin Darkside, Short Trooper continues to rise. Luke Bespin exclusive, still steady. Look at the Emperor, 628 and rising. K2SO. So, there he is, 623 and rising. Boba Fett animated, 610. Continuing to go down this list, regular Anakin, Revenge of the Sith, 592, $8 away from that $600 tier. Will he hit it? We'll have to see. Grand Moff Tarkin, by himself. Again, here's another example. So this is selling well into the $500 tier range, but it's also still selling. You can still pick him up in the $400 tier range. I mean, on buy-sell groups, a lot of times it's mid to upper $400 tier range. And if I have let's see if I have a recent of Tarkin, and I do. So February 23rd on eBay, $470, not including taxes, not including shipping. So it does sell in the mid upper $400 tier range, and obviously it sells in the 500s as well. But it is maintaining this average. So certainly something we're going to have to keep an eye on in the upcoming months for sure. Let's continue to go down this list. So Darth Maul still DX17, DX16 are trending up. No surprise there. We talked about that in the last episode. Here's Chirrut. Chirrut is rising up, whether it's the deluxe version here or the non-deluxe version, $446 and rising. Wow. And Leia A New Hope. Leia A New Hope continues to rise. $438. Again, some of these original trilogy figures. It's very interesting to keep track of. And let's see if I have something on Leia recently up in here. Yeah, so here you go. $445. 10 bids. It's going to be real interesting, with this figure. Could this Leia figure, get into that, Grand Moff Tarkin range? We'll have to, we'll have to definitely see on that. It's very interesting. Before we go down, let me move back up again so you can see Boba Fett from Return of the Jedi. $458 and rising. The deluxe version is rising again, and so is the non-deluxe version. And I think I just, pulled this up. $402 and change back from February 21. This is with the announcement of the Boba Fett from The Mandalorian, and you can get that straight Empire Strikes Back Deluxe reissue in the Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary packaging right now at Sideshow for a far more reasonable price than this. But this does go to show you that there are a segment of collectors that are just going to want multiple versions of some figures. So you can't just think anymore that because they're going to go ahead and release a similar head sculpt or a head sculpt in a different suit, that the prior version is going to suffer. It's a different market right now for Star Wars, and you're seeing it with some of these figures anyway. So definitely very interesting. So let's go ahead and go to the third segment of the program and head on over to Sideshow. So starting off, remember, I have this sorted out just Star Wars Hot Toys and best selling wise. So as you can see, still number one at $495. This Boba Fett deluxe version from The Mandalorian Season 2. Wow. And not only with Star Wars Hot Toys at this price point, at $495 is this number one. But when you mix in DC and Marvel and everything else Hot Toys, this is still number one at that price point. Wow. And let me tell you something, everybody. I am still drunk over this release. I mean, this is so epic. And I just can't get over how awesome this looks. Sure, it's not a surprise. We knew that this was going to come out. But I didn't think it was going to come out looking this good. And in this deluxe set. And with a head sculpt like that. I mean, wow. So, I just absolutely cannot wait for this release. But, going back to Sideshow, still number one at $495. You have to wonder, is it possible that this 2-pack could hit the high secondary market prices that you see this Han and Chewie from A New Hope at $900 in steady, and this Tarkin and Vader at $840 and rising? So, you could look right here. Again, in the middle of the screen, bringing it up again. $866 and change. Just recently, this Tarkin and Vader 2-pack. And right here, $860 for this Han and Chewbacca from A New Hope. So, is it possible that this 2-pack from The Mandalorian, this Boba Fett, can hit those prices? And I believe it is very possible. This is a scene that I don't think can be captured again. You're not going to see Boba Fett in this. He cleaned up his outfit already. And this is something very special and very iconic for a lot of Star Wars fans when he showed up like this. And I'm not too sure you're also going to get Tamora Morrison, you know, even in the book of Boba Fett, that's going to, go ahead and put on these robes, as you see here, necessarily, again as well. And as iconic as this Han and Chewie, and this Tarkin and Vader, right now for Star Wars, and what that did for Star Wars, this 2-pack is absolutely just as iconic right now. And can you imagine what is going to happen to the price of this 2-pack if they go ahead, which they will, and release the clean version of Boba Fett, but not with a Tamora Morrison head sculpt, whether a different one or this one again? Just think about that. Imagine if they released that and don't give you a head sculpt, and you could only get it in this 2-pack. What is that going to do to the secondary market price for this figure once it goes on waitlist and once it sells out? Again, even when you can look at this Grand Moff Tarkin. As iconic as the Tarkin and Vader 2-pack is, you could still get this Tarkin by himself. But you absolutely cannot get this Tamora Morrison figure by itself. The only way you could get it is in here. So you have to factor that in. And the second thing is, you have to look at this kind of different within the secondary market. It's not just a $495 figure. It's two figures that are $495. And I know with some of the quarter scale figures that have come out in the past, or some other references, that it's very hard to get them to double in price. But the data doesn't lie. And as you can see, I believe that right now, that Boba Fett and what it did for Star Wars is just as iconic as this Han and Chewie and this Tarkin and Vader. So you do have to wonder. And again, you can get the Tarkin by itself. You can get the Han by itself. You can get the Chewbacca by itself. And these 2-packs are still going for that. But you are not going to be able to get this Tamora Morrison by itself. And if you want to factor in that, is it possible that Hot Toys maybe don't give you a head sculpt with the clean version? Can you imagine what this is going to do? And even if they do give us a head sculpt, and I really hope they do, what if it's different? And it's just a different version, which would be really nice. It's still going to have virtually the same effect, because the only way to get this one is by getting, this 2-pack. So I think that this has a lot going for it, secondary market wise. Now, I'm going to go ahead and continuing on this before we move on. And I was actually participating in a chat during a live stream of Geeking Out just a few days ago. If you haven't checked out the channel on YouTube, Geeking Out, he's awesome. He has a lot of insight on collectibles, talks a lot of Star Wars, Hot Toys. And I believe he had on one of his guests was Don Prime. And he's also very knowledgeable. Really had fun watching both of those guys on the latest live stream of Geeking Out. He was celebrating, reaching 1,000 subscribers. And I think he was giving away an OG Mandalorian. So some of you may know about the channel I'm talking about. But they were bringing up a real, interesting point. And you have to wonder, how many, part of the chat was, how many Hot Toys is Hot Toys going to produce, or how are they going to go ahead and, plan production? So basically with Hot Toys, in a nutshell, they go off pre-orders, basically, they collect all the, pre-orders they're going to get. Okay, we know how much we're going to produce, and then they do some projection data that they mix in with there. And so when you combine the two, that's how many batches they're going to make. So with Hot Toys, it's not like some other lines where, they're going to go ahead and produce a lot, then it's going to get in stock, and then, we're going to go ahead and just keep producing more. We're going to keep that line open for months and months. No. That's why they go on wait lists. So, even with something as epic as this, there's going to be a point where it stops. Now, I'm going to go to bringing up another program that I'm subscribed to, Man of Hot Collectibles, and check him out. He has an awesome shows as well. And I was actually checking out his initial review or thoughts on this deluxe version of this Boba Fett. And he brought up a very interesting point where he was like, hey, is this even going to make it in stock? Or is it possible that this could even, go on wait list even before, it's released in Hong Kong or right around that time, even right by that April time range where this is supposed to come out, that April, May of that time range. And it's kind of interesting because going back to the live stream on Geeking Out a couple of days ago, one of the things everyone was discussing within that program was apparently there was, a prior figure by Hot Toys that went on waitlist before. I think it was an Iron Man figure we were all discussing while it was on pre-order. So, I don't think it's very likely with this, but you do have to wonder, do you want to roll the dice with something as epic as this 2-pack, with what could happen with this? There's certainly a lot of attention with this figure. You're seeing how it's performing on Sideshow right now at that price point, still at number one, and who knows how long with that price it'll stay at number one. And I will tell you that I think regardless of where it winds up going or even leveling out at some point, it's certainly not going to go very far down the list, I believe. So I don't pre-order figures necessarily very early because I don't need them to ship out. I don't need to have the first batch, second batch, or I don't need to have it. I can wait 3-4 months, even once it gets released in Hong Kong. It's okay for me. I sometimes want to wait till the final production photos, see how things are moving, that type of thing. So, but with this one, I just got a gut feeling with this that I don't want to play with fire with it. It's too epic. It's too iconic. It has so many different things going for it, and there's a lot of different caveats to this figure, like I was bringing up, is the clean version going to have, the same Tamora Morrison head sculpt or a head sculpt at all? You see what's going on with the Han and Chewie 2-pack. You see what's going on with Tarkin and Vader. And this is so hot. And, there's a lot of good, valid points, and I'm not exactly sure which way this is going to go. But the one thing I do know for sure is I don't want to take a chance. So I know I'm going to get this figure. I am budgeting for this deluxe set. And I went ahead and pre-ordered this for sure. So that would be my advice for anybody who's a Star Wars fan or a fan of this set. And you absolutely have it budgeted and you have it allocated. I would not sleep on this release by any stretch of the imagination. You never know. And anything is possible. So I would go ahead and get this for sure. For sure. All right, let's go ahead and continue to go down this list. So, Mandalorian and the Child Deluxe, and also the non-deluxe version. So, this deluxe version has been very high. Within the best, when you sort it out best-selling wise for a long, long time, really since it was announced. So while I do think, they probably made a ton of batches, of these, there's probably a ton of pre-orders for these at Sideshow. And even when you look at some of the overseas comic shops and big distributors, this is still selling for $500, $550. I mean, just even with this starting to ship out from Sideshow. So I do not think that this will be in stock very, very long. I think there were a ton of pre-orders on this. There's a lot of excitement still with The Mandalorian. And I do not necessarily believe that you're going to get these 6-scale Grogu pieces in subsequent Mandalorian releases. For Mando, I think you're probably going to get more of a Pedro Pascal head sculpt more than Grogu again. So I think that this also has some things going for it. And I think that it will absolutely take, while this OG Mandalorian has leveled off between $330 to $375 within the secondary market. And they nowhere near produced as much of these as they did with this Beskar version. But nonetheless, it's going to take this OG Mandalorian version with it once it does go on waitlist. And I believe that both of those figures are going to be $400 tier range figures, and possibly beyond. We're certainly going to have to keep an eye on it for sure. Continuing to go down, Cody. We talked about that. We talked about this last episode. I don't think that this Commander Cody is going to be in stock once Rex gets in stock. I think it will be out of stock at that point, this Cody. And I think the two will work in tandem, secondary market-wise. And I believe that it will take this Cody up with it when this Rex comes out. And both of them are going to be very, very highly sought after. So if you know you want to get this Cody and Rex, I wouldn't, right now this is in stock. I wouldn't sleep on this too much longer. I think this is going to go on waitlist soon. And I think that the Rex will go on waitlist faster than this will. So certainly something we're going to have to keep an eye on, and certainly something to keep in mind for sure. Moving on. Ahsoka. I cannot wait for this release. I just really can't go through, a market outlook, formatted show and not look at this figure when we go to Sideshow. I cannot wait, for this release. And this has been high, best-selling wise since it was pre-ordered. And it was number one for many, many weeks. I think almost a couple of months. So, yeah, they are going to produce probably a lot of batches of this figure. But there's a lot of pre-orders of this figure. And I don't think you're going to go ahead and get this version of Ahsoka, this Clone Wars version, released anytime again soon. And I really do believe that once this comes out later this year, that's when you're going to go ahead and get the Mandalorian version of Ahsoka. So I wouldn't... this is another figure that I wouldn't sleep on. I actually, I do have this pre-ordered. So I do not want to take a chance with this figure for sure. Don't sleep on this Clone Wars Maul either. This Clone Wars Maul is sure going to go good with this Ahsoka. That's for sure. Yeah, Moff Gideon, we've talked about that before. Again, I mean, this officer genre. Look at Krennic. Look at Tarkin. This fits in with that genre. And the Mandalorian is just hot. This is not going to linger. This is not going to be low. I'm just saying. Same thing with this Anakin. You see what happened with, you see what happened with the other Anakins within the secondary market. And I don't think they're going to make a whole lot of batches of this because this has not been very high, pre-order wise. I don't think this has been lighting it up at all. I would absolutely, if you're going to get this Anakin, I would not sleep on that figure because it will. I think, is it possible that this Clone Wars Anakin, if they don't make many batches of it, or in any capacity, can it hit, the ranges where the prior releases of Anakin are within the secondary market? Let me know what you think within the comment section below. Continuing to go down, so... Yeah, go look at this Coruscant guard. So, can you imagine if they go ahead and release, which I actually think they would. If I was Hot Toys, I would release Commander Fox, because Can you imagine where this would go best-selling wise if they went ahead and released Fox? I think it'd be up there with those short troopers. So, very, very interesting. So that is going to bring to a conclusion this episode of the Market Value Chart Show. Please go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoyed the content. And please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I so very much appreciate the support within the community. Thank you so much for spreading the word around about the Market Value Chart Show and also 6scalecantina.com and the Market Value Chart. Please also go ahead and follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. I have the links within the video description below. Remember, many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. See you next time.